What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Pass the Message, where we're talking real talk with relevant life hacks for you to learn, apply, and share with your social circles. I am Jeff J, and as always, follow us everywhere at Pass Message Show. Like, comment, and subscribe wherever you can like, comment, and subscribe. And get this podcast wherever you listen to podcasts and watch it on YouTube. Today, I got my brother with me, my frat, one of the best trainers I know, and in this fitness game for like decades now, right? Like it's at least been a decade plus. Barrington Bennett. He is a nutrition coach, a personal trainer, and a fitness consultant. What's up, B?
I'm good, man. How you feeling?
I'm good, man. I'm feeling healthy, and I'm glad I'm able to say that. And you're definitely one of the reasons. You've seen me throughout my whole stages since I really started taking this seriously. So, you know, B was like measuring my body fat back in the day, giving me programs. I still got his programs in my phone and stuff that we do where it's like everything changed. The minute he started working out, it's just like, you know how like you could do exercise. I bust out 50 push-ups, He's like, okay, we'll do this. And you like, yo, I could do that before. Why can't I do it now? Why is it so tough? And that's a mark of somebody who knows how to make the proper adjustments. But give the people quick elevator pitch on who you are and what you do.
Right. Like you said, my name is Barrington Bennett. Personal trainer, nutrition coach. And yeah, I help individuals hone in and improve their fitness levels, not only on an aesthetic level, but I think more importantly on a functional and fulfilling level. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like, you know, sometimes life can lead us down a myopic or mundane kind of view on our health. And that's where I pretty much come in and take the reins. And yeah, I've been, you know, fortunate enough to work with a variety of skill levels, like you said, over a decade now. But, you know, yeah, I mean, and be that agent that helps change their lives, you know?
Right. What brought you to the fitness industry? Why is that something that you wanted to pursue?
I mean, I grew up in sports, you know, baseball was always my first love. And then as you grow up, basketball became my deepest love, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, so I was always in that arena. And then when you realize as a youth, oh, shoot, I'm not going to be pro.
Right.
It's like
the harsh realities of youth.
The harsh reality. It's like, all right, how do I stay in this arena, right? How do I stay in this arena of sports, of athleticism, of just physical embodiment? And yeah, led me down the fitness road. And to be honest, my love for fitness has grown since I started. It wasn't as big as it is now. And so it's definitely been something that has grown over the years.
So when you wanted to make that pivot from potential number one first round draft pick in the first ever dual basketball player in the history of sports, what made you want to pivot into training? And even you're in the entire realm because you're doing nutrition training and overall fitness. But what made you want to do all of those really instead of just becoming a nutritionist, instead of just becoming a fitness consultant?
Yeah, because as you learn one field, I think you realize how they're all connected. And so without one, the more you push the other, you can only get so far, right? A lot of people like say the 70-30 kind of like ratio, but I just equal it across the board because without one, the other stuff ain't happening. Right. So yeah, I think knowing who I am and my love of helping people, helping just like, it doesn't have to be, you know, somebody I love, but just helping people and, you know, and knowing that I could, you know, be that agent for them, you know, just kind of like steered me down that path. Yeah.
So your brand is Be the Better, which in terms of branding has been something that everybody who's known you in real life and knows you on social, if it's one thing you know, it's Be the Better. It's like you hear it and your abs automatically start pulsing because you're like, oh, here this guy go.
There you go.
What made you choose that slogan for your brand and what does it encompass?
That's a great question. If for cats like you who've been around since the beginning, you know, it wasn't always Be the Better. It was my name, like Barrington B Fitness.
Yeah.
And so as I grew in the industry, I realized that the Be the Better slogan or the mantra or the brand became a mantra. You know what I mean? And so it's incomplete on purpose. It's like be the better what, you know, and that's because it's like it's all encompassing in terms of you can be the better X, you can be the better Y, you can be the better Z, but it doesn't limit you to just be fit, Barrington be fit, you know, and so but it grew, and now when I look at be the better, it's kind of like I don't necessarily want it to be a definition of me, but it kind of just grew as a brand, like a physical brand. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so yeah. I mean, I think it's just it's ambiguous on purpose, and it leaves it open for interpretation of the individual, because this whole fitness thing is individual. You know what I mean? And it's based on you and how you do this and you do that. So
right.
Yeah.
And it's funny you say that you didn't want it to define you, because somebody who doesn't know you, it defines. But that's also the mark of a good brand. When a good brand defines you, it speaks for you in rooms that you're not in, and it precedes you. And it's fun. What's funny when I think about that slogan, right? One of the things that I used to always say when someone used to, you know, when it's like you give your profiles or on any social media account, or people you ask you about what you're about, even be you were promoting it, is that's just been a mentality. It's like be better than your best ever was. That's what I used to always say. Like, well, and I still say, like, that's one of my goals, is to try to be better than my best ever was. So when you were touting be the better, I was like, yo, this is already in line with my personal goals. And what's ill about what you said is not only is it a limitless application of what you can be better at, it by definition is continuous. You have to keep being the better. You don't stop.
Exactly.
So if you just put be the better X, once I get X, I'm done. No, it's continuous improvement. It's continuously striving to be better. It's infinity. It's an infinite loop of betterment, yo.
Yeah, definitely. That's I didn't even put it that way. So I'm gonna have to
take that. You already know. Everybody gets something. We passing all the messages. Like it is. Yo, you know me. It's like I'm thinking. I always try to think about it. I love stories, yo, and that's like the best story. And seeing you from being in school to graduating and applying yourself. That's one thing I will say. So I've known you 14 years.
Yeah, long time.
14. I had to go to the crossing day. You know what I mean? But like, at least we're doing 14 at least. And there's one thing I can say is consistency is something that's a model of you, in terms of, you always like when somebody has a plan and then years later they're still on the plan, and okay, you stuck by it. Not to say that pivoting, I pivoted in my career. Not to say that pivoting is bad, but it's like, yo, you knew what you wanted to be when you grew up, and you're that. Yeah. And that's like one of the goals. So you're in a unique position where, in this day and age, the awareness over health and fitness is probably at an all-time high. Probably since when Jack LaLanne and all of them were popping, and it was like a fad, like almost, I guess you could say it was like a fad, but it was on the rise. I think with all the advancement in technology and social and communications, and being able to present yourself on various forms of media, it's just a heightened awareness. And of course, this year we got hit with the pandemic. We got hit with police brutality. I mean, on a large scale, because we've already been getting hit with that. But police brutality, racism, it felt like it was a confluence of negativity and adverse consequences for us as people, right? You being in your unique position as a fitness professional, what's been the one thing that you've seen that's hindered your clients or people in general from being their healthiest self in this era?
That's another good question. You got good questions, Sage.
That's why I'm here, bro. Shit.
I think if there's one thing, and a couple of my clients who hear this will say, facts. He's not lying. Because I say this to them all the time. One thing, there is a large. Let's rephrase that. People are being very impatient with themselves, and we are going through something we've never seen before. We are going through something no one else in our circles have ever seen before. And people aren't being patient with themselves and allowing themselves some type of added grace. Like, yeah, you should give yourself grace in pre-COVID
Mm-hmm.
and be patient with yourself pre-COVID. But in this time, in this day, yeah, man, people aren't being patient with themselves. Like, you're not going to execute the same way you executed in 2019. And when you swallow that and you take that and you be like, I accept that, then it'll make your walk for the rest of the year or the rest of this time a lot easier, I think.
Right.
Yeah, if there's one thing, yeah.
Yeah. So impatience. So the fact
Yeah.
that we want results now. We want to
Yeah.
do one pull up, and I want my traps or whatever the Goldberg. We used to call this the Bill Goldberg because
exactly.
Goldberg's joints used to be like that. So we want this, and we want all of that immediately, and it may not have been happening even before all of this. So
Right.
now, you know what? Just thinking about it, it's probably because we have so much time in our hands, like tangible time in our hands, where now there's not as many distractions of day to day that's been going on that we could use as an excuse. So now it's like, yo, if I have all this time, more time should be more productivity, and I don't understand why I'm not seeing results. Like, it's almost like you outlogic yourself to think, okay, now I have all this time. Now I'll be able to reach all my goals. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly.
So here's another question that I have for you. In terms of we're in this pandemic, we were quarantining. One of the first things that was shut down is gyms. And I can tell you straight up, unless I hit the lotto and I'm able to build a gym in my crib, I don't know if a gym is seeing me for the rest of the year. Just because that's a hotbed. It's like being around young kids. Young kids are germ incubators,
magnets,
right?
Yeah.
Like they just are like the germ unit, right?
Yeah.
So and you know how it is with the gym. Let's talk about it. If you ask everybody to be honest about you be wiping down the equipment before, wiping down after. I mean, other than you, like regular folk, like non-professionals that know the ins and outs. Like, you know, I keep it real. Like, sometimes you just want to get your workout and you're like, all right, well, I'm dirty. Like, I'm gonna be all right. But now you got to account for everybody in there and yourself. I know people who are out here working out in masks, and I'm like, yo, you are about to have you might be able to run marathons after this because, restricting that airflow. So a lot of us, we can't get to the gym. So we're doing stuff at home workouts, home weights, resistance, all of that stuff. For people who are just starting out, let's say I woke up one day and I know that was me, COVID hit me hard just mentally. And I was just like not into it. And then when I was able to work through it, I said, yo, all right, it's time. But I've worked out before. But for people who are just getting to it, what would you say would be the one thing? Like, what's the best thing to do to start with in this?
Let's see. To start with, I think the one thing I would start with waking up is not comparing yourself to where you were. If you are a previous or past athlete or anything like that, and then not comparing yourself to anyone you see on the medias. I think before you action orient anything, you go through that mental process of like, all right, if X is my goal, let's say it's lose 10 pounds, let's say it's gain 10 pounds or whatever, your goal is your goal, and it's a standalone goal, and it's not to be compared to how fast this person lost 10 pounds or gained 10 pounds, and it's not to aspire to do the things they did to lose it, or it's not to discredit yourself because you once were that way. I think that's also another big one that I see. I think before you do anything, you make sure your mind is right in terms of like that thought process.
Right. And I know you said before you subscribe to do something, get active, do something, start off small, but start, it's one quote I've heard before. It's like the best time to start something was yesterday. The second best time is now. And the worst time is never at all. So, you know what I mean? So, I definitely empathize and subscribe to that as well. Now, what about for people they lived in the gym. The gym was their life. They had all these gains, and now they're home. The two-part question. Can they see the same results from doing home workouts like calisthenics and maybe resistance bands or free weights they have at home versus the gym? And what can they do to at least keep pace? Like, is there a mentality shift? Is there a physical shift just at a high level?
It depends. It depends on the type of performance that you're into. The bodybuilders might have some trouble.
Right.
The bodybuilders, the powerlifters might have some trouble. If their goal was to bench 305 or squat 4 or something, they might be in a little bit of trouble at home with the resistance bands.
Right. But there is just gonna have to be bulk season until the gyms are back up, right?
But for like the average, like the fitness enthusiast, you could definitely still achieve goals and knock down obstacles for sure. I mean, they might take a little longer depending on what you have available, because now your programming might have to be a little different in terms of volume and modalities and all that stuff.
Right.
So I mean, it might take a little longer, or I mean, you can focus on something else. You can make a U-turn or pivot, right? You can pivot and focus. Like maybe you were just heavy into conditioning and now you're going to be heavy into strength training, or you were heavy into strength and conditioning, but you're going to be heavy now into mobility,
right?
And flexibility, or stability. All of those things will take you and have you achieve goals that you might not have been on the original goal list. So you can still progress, and you might not have your old intentions or your old goals, hammered down, but you can still, I'm still training online. I'm still training people online, and they're still showing up. So they're
yeah.
So yeah. Well, did I answer the second part?
Yeah, you said it was can you and what can they do? So yeah, you got that for sure. What should everybody have in their home? The basics, the bare necessities for working out at home.
Ooh. Bare necessities.
Or I don't say bare because that you could be like, well, you have yourself and you could just do whatever, because that's really the barest. You really don't need anything. Yeah. But if you would recommend the basics, the basic things that you could have where you'd be better off than anybody else.
Okay. I usually recommend like a list of things to clients who are starting to train virtually. So I could just run down that list. So on that list, and, keep it very, kind of like open-minded to this list, because to each person, it's gonna work different things.
Yeah, you can make variations based off what your needs are, but
right.
Just a starter kit, like a starter kit. That's
like a starter kit. Exactly. Yeah. Adjustable dumbbells if you can. If not adjustable, then I would go with just a general weight that you think you can conquer and not overdo it or underdo it.
Right.
Foam roller. Right. A foam roller is usually, although it's being very highly debated right now in the industry in terms of like certain effective uses of the foam roller, I think will always be in that starter kit. Resistance bands, whether it's the tube or the flat ones, the very small ones.
Yeah.
3. I would say just for the fun part of training, a tool that you haven't used. So like a kettlebell or a sandbag or something that you haven't used that you don't, a Viper, something that you haven't used that you can get into. So just kind of.
You said a Viper?
Yeah. So VIPR, you if you Google it, but it's like a log, it's like a log where it's made of,
that you hold like this, and then you
can do a whole bunch of stuff with it.
Yeah, copy. I know what that is.
It's plastic, it's made of rubber.
Yeah. I know exactly what. I didn't know. Yeah. I never knew what that was called. I see it in the gym, and I'm like, that looks kind of ill. It looks like a log that you just carved out and you just fill it out with.
Exactly. That or I mean, even TRX bands, right? TRX bands were probably one of the best investments I ever made in terms of my personal fitness.
Right.
And so I ain't sponsored by them or nothing like that. But like,
Right. I mean, we
but
all
yeah,
see, if you're in the gym, you know what they are. Like, it's whatever.
yeah,
Like, their check cleared already. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
exactly,
they already
exactly,
got their money. You see them in the
exactly,
gym. So with the
exactly.
TRX, what do you put it on the like the doorway? Like, you hang it from your
Yeah, yeah,
doorway?
yeah. So just be sure that the door doesn't open towards you.
Right. Facts. Yeah, because it'll get ugly. It'll get real ugly. Yeah, that's a great kit. I'm trying to think if there was something I was gonna say in regards to that. No. You know what? That's a great starter kit to have.
There's something I would add too.
What's up?
The last thing I would add, either a golf ball or a lacrosse ball, because in recovery, the foam roller does some stuff, but the what's the word I'm looking for? But not the denseness, but the
texture,
not the texture. The lacrosse ball or the golf ball will really get into spots in terms of recovery that a foam roller might not hit.
Got you.
In terms of myofascial release and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's like releasing like whatever the I don't know, the liquids or whatever that'll aid in you recovering and whatnot, or
to layman terms, like it just helps in recovery.
My science teachers are tight right now. I dumbed out. I'm sorry, I dumbed out. So let's go to your other side, the nutrition side, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this could be its whole other shit. It could be its whole other podcast. I know that. So I'm not even gonna go down the rabbit hole with you. Just like, it's a double-edged sword now that we're home a lot for those that are fortunate enough to be at home and working from home, or just you don't go in as much, or even so, there's a lot more access to what you can eat, a lot more emphasis, especially for people that are at home. Unless you don't cook or whatever the case may be, you may order out a lot more. There's challenges and opportunities on either side. So I'd say for you, what's one thing or one food that you would be like, if anything else, eat this, drink this, and you'll be at least on the right path to a better nutritional diet?
All right. Well, of course, drink the water, bro.
Oh, right.
Drink the water.
Yes.
Drink all the water as much as you can. Especially now, it might be, even though we're home, we're not doing as much, so we might not even feel thirsty.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
one
we
of the
might
best
not even
inventions. This gallon water thing, like get them a bunch of them. That's one of the best things I got.
Drink the water. Yep. Drink the water. Drink the water. Drink the water. And I think from the nutrition side, I think if you devote your day to taking as much vegetables as you can, It doesn't matter. It's not a matter of one vegetable, because that kind of might limit you too. But an array of colors in terms of the vegetables you eat, like then you're on your way. Like, even if today you say, today I'm eating reds, tomorrow I'm eating oranges, in terms of colors, yellows, greens, and just go down your days of the week like that, then you're on your way. You're on your way. Yeah.
Okay. So let me ask you, I'm thinking about, like I said, I'm staying away from the cliff, right? Though you just keep going down and down, but those are good starting points, right? How do you feel about supplements in general, from a diet perspective? Now, I don't know if I would count hemp seeds, flax seeds, chia seeds as supplements. They're actual seeds, but like those type of foods that you add to your diet, like foods like those seeds, for like protein powder is something I use a lot. I try to cycle, but I use that. How do you feel about those, like those other foods that you can add into your diet?
I depends on which one. But I'm for a wide array of a wide array of supplements. However, I would not supplement more than whole food.
Right.
So if you're seeing it, you're relying on protein shakes to get through the day, then
it's a problem.
It's a problem.
Yeah, because it's supposed to be something that I know, especially for like the bars. Like for me, protein bars are my way to not snack on something better. Because I figure, and we've had this conversation before, I figure if I'm going to eat something late at night, if I have a craving, I'm going to satisfy it, I'm going to put something good. Like I'd rather go eat an apple at 11 o'clock at night than a bag of chips. You know what I'm saying? Because it's natural. That's my logic. Here's a good one for you. I've heard some debate on this. I put kale and spinach and all that in shakes that I make. Am
Mm-hmm.
I losing any type of nutrition value by liquefying my fruits and vegetables?
All right. So here's the thing: when you juice, you are losing you are losing high amounts of fiber.
Now, is that the same as blending it?
No. So when
Okay,
you
so like
blend
not like the because I
a
say it's juicing,
NutriBullet,
but I'm
right?
talking about blending.
Yeah, it's like a NutriBullet type.
Right.
Right. So smoothies, those are like smoothies. Smoothies are great. The thing with the smoothies is that once you blend fruit or vegetable, you release its antioxidants, right? So you got to get that thing down. You can't just store it in the
Oh,
fridge for
copy.
three,
Yeah.
4 days. But you retain the fiber, you retain most of the nutrients, you retain any nutrients that it had. It's not like you're losing it through the pulp, right? I mean, so
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, that's actually a big debate, like you said, between juicing and smoothies. I'm not. I'm a fan of smoothies. I do smoothies myself, but I don't completely knock juicing
Right.
if you're aware of what's happening when you juice. You know,
Mm.
like you're not getting the amount of fiber that you normally would.
It's funny you say you lose nutritional value if you try to like blend it in advance. Because I've been thinking about that too. Like, yo, because I freeze a lot of my stuff, so it's a war in that it's a war in the blender. Like you gotta wait, and I'm like you said before, I'm impatient when it comes to that. So it's funny. I was actually talking to my mom about it, and she was like, "Yo, why don't you just blend it and hold it overnight?" My thing was just about the consistency. That I was like, "Yo, I'm
Mm,
gonna have to re-add ice to make it a smoothie, and then that might water it down." But from you
yeah,
saying from a nutritional perspective, that's you advise against it because you're losing it by like over
it's by
time.
time. Like you look at an avocado or banana, when you
Mm-hmm.
open it, that's when it starts to turn brown, right? And
Right.
that's the that's it losing its antioxidants, right? It's
Really?
literally turning. It's turning. So the amount of time that it would take the avocado to turn brown or the banana to turn brown, you should have ate it already.
Bro, I never knew why that happened.
Yeah. So I mean,
I never knew why that happened. That's good, man. That's good. I think what you're giving people right now is a good baseline for what we can do. What about the mental aspect, man? This is the hard times that we living in, bro. Like, and I can't knock folk for. Listen, I've been keeping like a liquor and wine graveyard, just like when this is all over, to remind myself what like how much we actually went through. And I probably should have been doing this sooner because I probably said would save money in the club. You know
so
what I'm saying? Like, I'm looking at that, I'm like, yo, if this was the
remember that
club,
life?
I'd be
Remember
in
that
the hole.
life?
But yeah, like, do you have any advice for people getting through it mentally and wanting to heal, but maybe you can't get over the hump, or maybe they have invisible scripts that are blocking them from that, or things internally that we say to each other and repeat that we're not conscious of. That's what I mean by invisible scripts. Things that we're not conscious of, like we tell ourselves, man, I never be in shape. I never look like Barrington. Like, that's just not
Yeah,
gonna happen. Then you know what? It's not gonna happen, right? So
it's
how do
not.
we? Any advice you have to overcome that?
Uh, yeah, I mean, besides the previous comment of like not comparing yourself to any and other X, Y, and Z, yourself or person,
Right.
I think you got to. I think you definitely. I'll say this. I need to go get a therapy degree because
Mm.
my clients unload. You know what I mean? They unload, and I'm here for it. I'm here for it
Right.
because the one thing you should do is vent.
Mm.
You know, like you should let it out because you're not burdening me. You know what I mean? I'm here for you. My service is cast a wide net.
Right.
And so like, yeah, I'm here for your physical. Yeah, I'm here for your nutritional, but I'm also here for your mental, right? Like you're not stress is probably one of the number one causes of you not getting the results that you want. And so if you're stressed, you're not going to see what we're working on. It's just not going to happen. Your recovery is going to be shot. Everything's going to be through the window. And so vent. One thing is just vent. Like
Word.
if you can't get it out to a human being, get it out on a notepad, get it out through meditation, get it out
Mm.
through, just get it out, get it out, get it out, get it out. And then, like you said, negative thoughts, man, they turn into negative lives. And so, like, if you can't change just your perspective to a more optimistic perspective in anything, I mean, you're just gonna be jumping over hurdles for a long time. And I mean, yeah, just get it out, please.
Yo,
Hmm.
that negative thoughts turn into negative lives. Like that's a bar, man. That's real
So
talk. That's real talk. It's just
yeah,
like the man who thinks he can. That's one of the things that always sticks in my head.
exactly,
Like that was the one
exactly.
thing where I learned. I was like, yeah, you know what? That is true. Let me keep reciting this because maybe this will get me through. You know what I'm saying? But
Right.
before we get into the second half of the show and the past the message section, quick Mythbusters for you. Can you outwork a bad diet? For real. Like, I know you probably, is there any way to outwork a bad diet?
So performance might suffer
Mm-hmm.
with a bad diet. However, if I eat one Big Mac a day, that's all I eat for the day, and I'm working out all day,
Mm-hmm.
then my calorie deficit is still on my side. I'm not healthy.
Right.
I'm not healthy, but my calorie deficit is still on my side. If your goal was to, in fact, lose weight,
Mm-hmm.
losing weight and being healthy, two complete different things. So technically, yes. Do I recommend it?
Right.
No, I think you should have everything balanced. I think everything should have, and I'm also against the 70-30 notion, you know what I mean, of nutrition being 70% and fitness being 30%. I
Mm.
don't subscribe to that because everything has its girth. You know what I mean? Like everything has what it needs, and you minimize or you make one part mundane when you say one is 70 and one is 30. You
Right.
think you could just, you know what I mean? So I just keep it all equal.
Yeah, that's real. That's real. Because that's the one thing that we always heard. Like, you make your abs in the kitchen and it's 80%. Like, I've heard 85, 80, 75
Yeah,
percent of the diet. And I think it fluctuates to me, right? Because it's like if you're in competition mode, if you're doing a challenge or something, yeah, it may be
right,
like this. But unless you're making it's all a lifestyle change for real. But to like lifestyle change to that for the rest of your life, like that's just what it's gonna have to be. You know, I personally feel like the crashes are harder when you do go, because if you go off off the reservation or whatever, and you have a cheat meal or something like that, or you eat something that you're not supposed to, quote unquote, then it's
right,
like, oh my God, I defeated myself. Like
right,
I've
right.
let everything down. You know what I mean? So that's something good. That's something good to keep in mind. Here's another one. If I lift weights and I do a lot of cardio, I'm not gonna gain muscle mass. I'm gonna lose muscle.
You're not, nah, nah. If you are strength training and you're strength training to your skill level and ability, conditioning is not going to have you lose muscle. No, I not at all, not at all.
Mm.
We don't have to spend time on that one. It's just like no,
Right,
that's
right,
not
right.
how, like,
It's
that's
just
not.
not what it is. Because
Yeah,
you do need a healthy blend of both if you want to have like the cardiovascular health
right. Because you want a
along with
healthy heart,
right.
right? You want a healthy heart. You definitely want a healthy heart. I don't subscribe. I don't tell people to dismiss conditioning or cardio. Same. I use the word interchangeably.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So yeah, so you do want a healthy heart. You do want to do your conditioning and stuff like that. But on the flip side, you definitely want to do your strength training.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and it's funny. It's like we'll have like our homegirls or women when we have these conversations. They always make that comment about not wanting to get too big, and I've read
Right.
so much about that where I always say like, "Yo, you think you're gonna look at the weight and be diesel? Like you're gonna be like on some track
Yeah.
stuff?
Nah.
Like no, it's gonna take a long while. Like you have to build it up. Like you have to build it up because if all you're doing is conditioning, then even just having physical strength." You know what I mean? And just making
Exactly.
yourself stronger, it just goes a
Exactly.
long way. It's just that's another thing for me is flexibility, right? Because
Hmm.
I've heard, I got you right now, the more flexible you are, the better it can be for your strength training.
100%. And the more you strength train, the better it can be for your flexibility.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So they go like peanut butter and jelly. Yeah.
Wow.
Easy. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know
100%.
that, but it's like, bro, it's I remember when I first started doing yoga, I was like, I don't know how they stretch I don't get
Yeah.
it. Like, your body does all this stuff, but just being able to move in a
Yeah.
certain way where you're not feeling pain, and you just like that increased range of motion.
Yeah,
it just
exactly.
feels better. You know
Exactly.
what I'm saying?
You will live with pain for 10 years, and when that pain is gone, you're like, oh, I was living with pain for 10 years, because your body is extraordinary, right?
Mhm.
It's going to you can have pain and learn to live with that. And that's not what I recommend. I recommend, always, fixing or, taking care of that. But yeah, you can definitely live through pain. And that's unfortunate. Or
Right.
live with pain. Yeah.
And that's another reason why you go to the doctors. You know, I understand if people are a little apprehensive now, but just in general, like going to the doctors and stuff like that, because those nagging things can turn into major things. So I remember
Exactly.
when you did your flag football tournament, bro, I don't know what happened, but like I got like tendonitis in my knee, and it was at first I thought, okay, maybe football has a lot of movement, so maybe I twisted it. I'm like, all right, I'll be good. Week later, it was the same intensity of pain and all of that. Went to the doctor, got an MRI. Yo, you
Yeah.
have tendonitis. You gotta go to rehab. I'm like, what for
Right.
football like
Right.
that, right? But
So
well, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, so here's one thing that we do. And it's like, all right, you assimilate, or you correlated that tendonitis to that move on the field,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I would say it was probably more of a compound effect, and that football tournament exposed it. You know what I mean? It kind of just
Ah,
like was the cherry on top.
right.
So a lot of times we pick up a pen, or I ask my client, they're like, oh, my back hurts. All I did was pick up a pen and my back hurts. And I'm like, nah, dog, it
Yeah.
wasn't the pen. It was everything that you were doing before you picked up that pen, in terms of how you move, how you lift, how you do this, how you do that. So, I mean, we'll probably get into it in terms of like the do's and the don'ts, but it's like, be very careful in terms of what you're doing and how you're progressing your programs, because if God forbid you do get hurt, you want to be able to understand why.
Mm,
Right. And then my thing, I told you that we spoke about this before, was prehab over rehab.
right.
Right. So you want to make sure you're doing everything well and efficient enough before there's any pain, so that there isn't any pain.
Mm-hmm.
Not fix it when there is pain, but just like nip it all before it could possibly even happen.
Okay, you were talking about the do's and don'ts of your program. What are some, like, what's one major do and one major don't that you have?
One major do. Let's start with the don't.
Yep,
Just
let's do
to get it out. Let's get
it.
it out the way. Let's just get it out the way.
Right.
One of my biggest things that I'm seeing now is a lot of people doing plyometrics for conditioning and plyometrics for cardio.
Mm-hmm.
Jumping, jump squats, jump for 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 60 minutes. Like, that is not the purpose of plyometrics. And we can get into a whole nother,
Right.
on the purpose of plyometrics, but it's not built for conditioning. I know it might not feel bad and you might feel great afterwards, but you're setting up the building blocks for destruction in terms of like, I don't like to say it out loud, but all the injuries that could possibly happen in the future. And you might just be walking down the stairs, and that's when it happens. And then you're like, all I was doing was walking down the stairs. It's like, no, it's because you were doing 100 box jumps. You know what I mean? Like, it's because you were doing whatever plyometrics for conditioning.
Bro, I remember I remember telling the story about how I parked my car, and the way you get out your car, usually it's like left foot out first and then
Yeah.
right foot. I put my left foot out. Bro, I never felt my Achilles do whatever it did. It was like red alert. Like, I felt like it was sirens going off, and it like contracted. It was literally like I stepped, I picked up my leg and said, okay, body, you let me know what you want to do when you want to do it, because that's the one I don't want. That's the one I do not want, right?
That's the one none of us want.
So I'm like, okay. And I literally just breathed, chilled, whatever. I was taking it dumb serious. And then I walked out and I was fine. But it's like something like that can just snap, and I don't know what built up to that. So that don't is really important, because you can feel good doing a lot of this stuff. Like, I do plyometrics. Like, I'm on the front, I do it, but I know it's not sustainable I won't do it for months and months and months and months more, because I just don't want to. I like working out and feeling great. I don't want to feel like I'm at the brink of exhaustion. Like I'm not an X-Man. I'm not training in the danger room.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
I want something that's sustainable, that I get the results without having to put myself through death for like 6 straight months. Because if that's the case, then I'm like, there's got to be something else I'm not doing. Because if I'm doing that for 6 months, I got to be able to like fight in UFC or something at that point. You know what I mean?
Right.
What's a do that you have?
Let's see. Well, I'm gonna get to the do, but I don't want to tackle
keep
something
on,
you just said.
my bad.
So you said like you don't want to be, an X-Man type. Right. And that's a great point, because a lot of people come into the gym and they think they have to go 100, or they come into their workout and they think they have to go 100. There's something called your your rate of perceived exertion, right? And that's literally how you mentally perceive on a scale of 1 to 10 how you feel during your workout. 10 being doom, complete, utter death, and 1 being this was on the couch. I recommend, and I ask my clients throughout their workouts, and I suggest everyone else ask themselves throughout their workouts, how do I feel? You should be hovering around 7, 8.
Right.
6, 7, 8. For an effective, efficient workout where recovery should be smooth, everything should kind of fall into place and you'll be ready to go to perform your next workout. This whole 9, 10, 11 every workout, you setting yourself up. Right. You're setting yourself up. And so, yeah. Now, so for the do, I think one definite do for every workout, or for just like in general?
Just in general, because you had mentioned earlier the do's and don'ts. So just like in general, like not for every workout, just in general.
I think one of the major do's would be to add a portion of your workout for recovery, whether that's stretching, whether that's icing, whether that's whatever is specific to that person. Your workout can't end after you do your last pull-up. Like you don't just walk out the gym or walk out the session or walk out of your living room. Right. But you gotta emphasize recovery. I mean, that's where the change happens. You know what I mean? Like you're not changing when you're doing the pull-up, you're changing when your body's recovering from the pull-up. So the better your recovery methods, the better your results. And I think that it ties into nutrition, but it also ties into things like sleep. That ties into things like, like the whole icing and stretching and all that stuff. It can sound and kind of seem boring, but you're doing this for that reason. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think recovery would be.
How do you measure when someone's 9 is really a 5 or a 6? And you're trading them, and you're like, all right, man, like I know you could do 2 more. How do you as a trainer hone yourself to be able to identify when, for lack of a better term, when people are bitching and when they're actually at their limit?
Nah, so I build great relationships with my clients. Like me and my clients and I, we are like I said, I'm some therapist to some clients. Right. You know what I mean? That's how close we get. So I know my clients, and it's like I have everything written down. You can't tell me what you can't do, because you've done 2 or 3 things that I know through my experience have led you to be able to do this. Right. And so it's kind of like the kid trying to get over on you. You know what I mean? But like, yo, bro, I raised you.
Right. It's like if Sally had 4 apples, like I know you know his fucking math. Do the math, yo.
Exactly. So it's kind of like, but sometimes people are having a bad day,
right?
And in that case, they won't admit this, but I am lenient. I am considerate. I am nice. They won't admit this because they're in the trenches the whole time. They can't see it. But yeah, if someone's having a bad day or a rough day, then I attribute it to either they didn't sleep well last night, they didn't eat well yesterday or pre-workout, or they're not hydrated enough, or they're just mentally jacked up.
Some days are just off, bro. Like some days you just don't got it. You know what I mean? So, and I can say as somebody who's worked out under you, it's the opposite too. Like I'll come in and I'm ready to throw everything around. You like, oh, just do 5. I'm like, fuck you mean 5, bro? I didn't come in to do it. It's like, yo, you see. And it's like, oh, okay, I get it. You're level setting. You want to we're making sure that I can do it the right way before I just bust out
Exactly.
mad reps,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. Exactly.
So yeah, so
Exactly.
it does go both ways. It does go
Yeah.
both ways for sure. All right, so let's get into a little bit more about you before we get out of here. Some of the things, and we're going to make that connection between a nutrition coach and anybody else listening who isn't in your field to see what kind of skills that you have that they can use. So that's the first thing I would ask. As a fitness professional, what is one transferable skill that you have that you feel anyone can use?
I'm gonna go a little mental.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and we spoke about this before too, diligence and determination over motivation.
Right.
Right. Because the motivation side, which is not bad, has an end date, has the expiration date. Like you're eventually going to achieve that goal. You might eventually just not be motivated. And I think you have to key in on being determined and being like diligent with what you're doing and why you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's why in the beginning I said I'm more, the aesthetic part is cool, but the fulfillment part is even better. That I play the role I play in the fulfillment part, because that's the lifelong part.
Right.
The aesthetic part is very short term. When we set up short term goals, that's your aesthetics. But when we set up long term goals, that's your fulfillment. Like you're gonna be a great dad at 50, at 60, like you're gonna be that dad running around, or that mom that is able to pick up her kids, run with her kids, play tag, do all that thing. But even outside of children, just be able to tie your shoes.
Yeah.
Like be able to go on the ground and get up.
Right.
You'd be surprised, like when you get older, you don't think about, somersaults, like, but why not?
Right.
Why not? And so I think, when you shift the focus off of being motivated because your favorite X, Y, and Z influencer is doing something, and you shift it to your why being because there's a deeper and there's a bigger image that I want to live. I want to live this life. I want to live longer, not die longer. You know what I mean?
That's real.
And so like when you think about it in that way, it's like, I bet take that, run with that, and hold on to that, because
that's a word, bro. That's a word. Give me something, a quote or a saying that anybody in your life, whether it's your family or anyone, has given you that you apply to this day and that you pass on to others. It could be a quote, it could be a saying, a philosophy, whatever.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just got this one too, and I love it. But beware of the socially. Oh, don't let me mess this up. One second. Beware of the socially acceptable acts of self-hate. And there are a lot of them. The number one that molds into this conversation is I'm busy. I'm very busy, and it's very acceptable by your peers to be busy and to work around the clock and chase the bag.
Sleep,
team no sleep, all that. No, thank you. No, thank you. Like you're not helping yourself. So and it's because it's socially acceptable, you kind of just like ease into it, and yeah, I think that's one that we really have to focus on. Like, is everything I'm doing is anything I'm doing an act of self-hate? So like you have to take away the acceptance from your peers, take away the acceptance from society, take away the acceptance from social media, and just look at it and be like, yo, is this really good for me? Is this really good for me? Because you can do the research yourself, right? Like you can literally just be like, all right, I feel like shit, for lack of better words, when I don't sleep. So obviously you should be sleeping.
Need more sleep, man.
So I think you take that. I mean that, and that's a fairly new one that I just got, and I'm gonna run with that one till I'm old. Yeah.
That's a good one. That's a good one to apply, bro. Well, clearly you're into fitness, so this part of the show is just what's one thing that you do to preserve yourself, to take care of yourself, to keep yourself healthy. So aside from your whole nutrition and fitness, is there anything else that you do to replenish yourself?
Outside, I would say outside of family time,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a reader, and I think reading has taught me a few things. I think one of the biggest things reading has taught me is to shut up and listen.
Mm.
And the more I read, the more I shut up and listen. And it just if it is it's very I'll let the individual define it personally.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not a reader, I would say for nothing else, start reading or audiobook or whatever, just for you to be silent and for the pages to talk or for the narrator to speak, and just work on like that part of you.
Mm. Yeah, that's dope, man. I won't lie. Reading, I've read a lot more in this year than I have probably in my entire life, just like volume wise of reading
Yeah,
that
yeah,
had nothing to do with school, right? And
right.
just I think the learning never stops. That's the one thing
Yeah,
about us. Like you don't gotta go to school to learn. You don't have to go for a bunch of certifications and degrees to learn within reason. But just you should always be learning new things because I've heard about the brain functions and the synapses and you build
yeah.
new
So you
connections by learning new
exactly,
things and just in
exactly.
terms of that's part of being human, man. Like learn new stuff, don't be stagnant because once you're stagnant it's like what do you're living a mundane, boring,
Yeah,
predictable life, right? So
yeah.
that's real, man. That's real. All right, so a couple of quick hits, quick rapid fire before we get out of here.
Oh, cool.
What's one thing that you found that you couldn't live without because of this whole quarantine pandemic? You woke up and you were like, yo, you know what? I definitely couldn't live without that.
Avocados. I'm joking. I'm joking.
I was about to say, there's a shortage of shit.
I that's a good question, bro. One thing I couldn't live without: silence.
Mm.
Silence. In this time, if a lot of people aren't comfortable with silence, and I feel like that takes a little work. But yeah, I realized that I actually need silence. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like and I don't have to be alone. I'm not talking about solitude. I just need silence, like to be chilling with anyone of my loved ones and just just be, you know. And so yeah, I think that's one thing for sure.
No,
I
that's
like that
real.
question. I'm about to ask a few family members
Yeah,
after this.
yeah. I heard that and I was like, I heard that in an icebreaker and I said, "Yup, bring that to the show." Um,
Yeah,
what's one party game that you feel like if I'm on your team for that game, if you're on our team, we won't
yeah.
lose.
Damn. Well, give me an example of party games real quick.
Well, every black person has said taboo that's been on the show.
Oh well, me. It depends on my partners with taboo,
I
but
mean, all right. So
yeah.
are you a better guesser or a clue giver?
Oh no, I'm the clue giver from. I'm the golden clue giver.
Yeah. It's like, all right,
Yeah,
yo, B, we're down 6. We need to run off a 6-0
yeah,
run.
yeah. Exactly. That's six. That quality six cards. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good for it.
Yeah, that's I've always said I like guessing, but I'm like, yo, I'm good for at least 5 points. 5 points around. Like if we need it, I will get you to 5 points. Like I'll get you
Yeah.
5. So yeah, that one is good. And finally, whether you're watching anything on TV or read a good book, what's a recommendation you can give to the people?
Ooh, I got a lot of books. I got a lot of books, but one of my favorite books of like maybe like the last, I mean, let's say 2020, that I reread is, oh my God, he's gonna kill me. Of Water and the Spirit. Of Water and the Spirit. I might be fudging the title a little bit. It might be Of
Mm.
Water and Spirit. But if you get
Who
water,
wrote it? Who's the author?
I would kill his name. It's an African man. Uh,
Malidoma.
yes, him.
Of Water and the Spirit by Malidoma Patrice Sommet.
Yes,
Okay,
perfect,
copy.
perfect. Um, yeah, that book is very, 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 very. It was recommended by a loved one, and I ran through. It took me a while to get through it in terms of just picking it up, but when I did pick it up, I was like, "Oh, my bad for leaving you down for so long."
Mm.
So yeah,
Fiction,
and it
nonfiction.
nonfiction, but it's very spiritual.
Mm.
All right, so it's like it's not religious, but it's very spiritual in the sense that he talks about his journey, and his journey has a lot of things that would make you that forces you to think outside of what you see.
That's a good recommendation. I'm writing that down myself. I saw it.
Yeah.
Even the artwork is engrossing. Like it captivates you the moment you see it. So that's good, man. And then finally, what's one artist or group that you listen, you're like, yo, if you don't like this artist, we can't be friends?
Oh, come on, man. You know I can run down a whole list.
He about to give me every reggae artist that's ever breathed on this earth. It's about to be a sound clash in
oh
thing.
My God.
Give me one.
Now. Chronics, man. Chronics. My man Chronics, if you're not rocking with Chronics, then if you decide to press fast forward on a Chronics track, you gotta get out the car.
Yeah. It's like, yo, you don't know good music, right? I hear that. All right, Chronic, that's what it is.
Chronix,
so for people who don't know, that's a reggae artist, right?
Chronics is a reggae. He's a reggae artist. Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
Cool.
He's a reggae magician.
In case y'all didn't hear the name Barrington at the beginning, you be clear that we was gonna get reggae in that for sure. Yo, B, we done, bro. We done.
Man.
Thank you for joining me, man.
This is love. Yeah, this is love. I appreciate you, and this is what you're doing here is admirable. You might have inspired me.
I hope so. It's what we do, man. It's like I told people, like, and I keep it real. You know, I'm not really looking in it for the listeners. Like, I don't check my stats. Like, I'm not like a stat analyzer all the time or whatever. But for the one person, like, that would call me when I did my therapy episode and was like, yo, I never thought about therapy before, and I'm going to give it a chance. This is what we do. And it's like people like you that'll share this with the people that, you know, it's all about evangelization and just passing it on. That's one of my biggest things. Like, yo, if you heard something in this show that you think is dope, share it with somebody. Even if you don't share the show, just share the lesson and I've done my job. You know what I'm saying? Right.
Exactly. And anything that I said, debate it. You know, like research it, do your own research, prove me wrong, and then tell me so that I'm better.
And this is also like a thought exchange too. It's a thought exchange because these are the places where we can have these conversations and it not be marred in debate style where I want to win versus I want to learn.
Exactly.
Like I want to learn. I always want to learn. Like I know I'm not right about everything, but I'd like you to prove me wrong. And then I'm like, okay, or like change my put me on. So I'm like, oh, okay, I can look at it this way. So where can the people find you? How can the people acquire your services?
I mean, the easiest way is to hit the website. I'm always checking email and stuff, bethebetter.com or www.bethebetter.com. Instagram, social media and all that is Barrington_BTB, which is for Be the Better. So I mean, that's I'm pretty available to the public. So
word. All right, man. Well, I tell you, and as somebody who's also a client, this is unsolicited review. Like it works. He knows everything. He knows. I won't put that on you. He knows what he's talking about. He gets results and he cares. Above all else, he cares about you as a client. You're not a check. You're a client. So that's real. That's right. And anybody else, and I keep it real. Find people who've worked out with him. You can go on Twitter and find people cursing him out for fitness and putting him through his workouts. You'll get honest reviews. So definitely do that, man. And like I said, I appreciate you joining me, and I appreciate everybody who listens. Once again, subscribe to Pass the Message anywhere where you listen to podcasts and on YouTube where you can watch the show. Follow us everywhere at Pass Message Show. You can follow me on all social at Jeff J Says. And until next time, take these words home that you heard today, think it through, and when you're done, pass the message. Talk to you soon.